Hello everyone. I've been looking online and there's not a huge amount of tutorials for MagicaCSG. So I thought I'd have a go at making some of my own. Also I've learnt a few tips here and there that I thought is going to be useful for some people, so yeah, let's get on with it. So my first little tip is the free camera mode, because I mean some people might not get on with this camera, but I know it's not really a tip because it's just built straight in, but I really suggest the free camera mode. So you can use WASD to move around, Q and E to go up and down, right click to move around. So it's a bit like Unity or some other game engines if you've used them. And I much prefer that. So my second tip is, if you stick with the size of the default cube, then it's a bit zippy, the camera's a bit fast, a bit hard to be precise, so I just take this cube and make it a lot bigger and then use this as my default size, and then moving around is a lot smoother and more precise, a bit slower. I don't think you can change the camera speed. If you can, then I'd love to know, because that would make my life a bit better. Anyway, so this will affect the size of exporting and stuff, so it's not precise in that way, but if you fix the size at the end after you've exported in a different program, then it works well, so that's what I do. Another thing you might not know, if you get a picture, an image on your phone, on your computer, just go find one. So all you have to, if you just drag a photo onto the scene, then it adds it as a plane. Doesn't really tell you anywhere that you can do that, so that's good to know. Also, I don't think you can just add one to the scene. I think you have to drag and drop the photos from somewhere on your computer. So today we're going to be making this head piece from Metal Gear Mark II. I just put it off to the side somewhere so it's visible most of the time. I chose this because it's not too simple, it's not too complicated, and it shows off some nice tips that I've got. So the first thing is these bevels. I always get bevel and chamfer and fillet mixed up, so I apologise. This shape's a bit strange to have fillets on. Example, if you took the basic cube and and you added a chamfer on it, it only does these sides, so then it's like a diagonal thing. So let me just quickly wrong button. If you cut something at a diagonal that you would need to on this, then you lose the chamfers around the edge. So this seems like quite a hard shape to have these bevels on, chamfers, but the best way of doing it is to use the polygon, this one here. Yeah, this one. Because then you'll have to rotate it into place. I'll go over that in a second. Yeah. But if you add cone to it and then 45 degrees mode, it essentially adds a chamfer, but if you add new points, then you can do all manner of shapes, and they've still got the chamfer around the edge. So that's how we're going to do the basic shape of the head here. So a tip about rotating, in the gizmo menu here on the side, you've got this little rotate section. You can change these numbers to be anything, but I just leave them 45 most of the time. So the way I remember it is X, Y, and Z is red, green, and blue. RGB, X, Y, Z. And if you imagine these arrows are stuck, like you've got a little pick or something, an ice pick or something, and you stab it in your object the same direction as the arrows and then rotate the ice pick, it will rotate around that axis. So if we want to rotate it this way, then it's rotating around the red axis, which is X. R is X. So you can just click this twice and it'll rotate exactly 90 degrees in the direction you want. And again, so now if we wanted to rotate it this way, 90, green is Y, RGB, X, Y, Z, Y, it will rotate it exactly around the green one. So that's how I remember it. So anyway, let's get on. We're trying to make this shape. So what I'll do now is, oh, hang on, I'll carry on. If you hold Alt and drag one of the points, it's just a quick way of adding a new point. Yeah. So I'll get the basic shape. So this is the basic shape of this head. Now, I'll just pause and make this a bit better. But if you're following along, then just take your time and get it as close as you want. So here we are. It's a bit better now. It's not perfect, but you can spend as much time as you want making it perfect. Just another little tip while we're here about these points. Say this one's a little bit high, and you're like, you want to get it exactly in line with that one. What I do is click the one you want to copy, and then just copy its position up and down as Y normally. If you click and drag on the things, it will move as well. So let's undo that. That's definitely the one. Copy that. Go back to the other point and paste it. And then now they're in exactly the right line. And then if you want to, if you think, oh, that's not quite far to the right, but I don't want to have to copy and paste the Y value up and down value over and over again, you can just click and drag on the direction that you want, and it will scooch it left or right, in this case the X, or up and down with a Y, forward and back with Z, but in this case you don't want to do that. So that's let me just, yeah, I moved it. So now we've got the basic shape of this head. Yeah. Another quick tip is the chamfer in this case. I didn't quite go over exactly how we did it. It's this cone value, but with the 45 degrees toggle turned on. If you turn it off, it just does like this cone thing. But with the 45 degrees mode on, it basically adds a chamfer. So in this case, it's pretty close to being the correct chamfer, but it's max. This cone is max on the slider. So if the chamfer was bigger and we'd max the slider out, you might think, oh, I can't do that, I have to think of another way. But you can just type any one you want in here and it'll override it. So you can get bigger chamfers than what it says is the max. I think in this case 64 is about right. Anyway, we're not trying to be perfect on this one, so this is pretty good. So let's carry on. If you just click and drag one of the shapes, it'll add it to the world, and if you hover over something you've already got, it'll snap to the edges. So, and then if you click on this position part, you can just click the X, Y or Z and it'll zero them. So now it's exactly at 0, but we don't want it to be exactly 0 in this case. So again, cone with the 45 degree mode will add this kind of chamfer. Now, I haven't found a very good way of getting these to be exactly in line, getting two faces to be exactly in line. But we can just eyeball it in this case. We want this to be exactly flush, so that looks pretty good. Can't see any. Yeah. And then we could just move it in place. If you want to scale in only two directions, you can turn this XY mode on, and then if you click either the red or the green, it will move it in, scale it in both directions equally. But quick tip, if I just normally leave it on just X, and then if you hold Alt down and click, it does the same thing. So yeah, make this a little bit smaller and then increase the chamfer. My mouse isn't great, so anyway. So yeah. Also with this X mode turned on, if you hold Control down and click one of the scales, it'll only move it in that direction. If you don't hold Control, it'll go from both directions. But hold Control and it'll move in only that direction. So, as the bottom is longer than the top, we'll try and get it to be about the right length. Again, in this case, we're not trying to be perfect. So, this is a very hard edge. I tend to have most things that are just adding together a very, very small blend amount. Let's just say this hasn't, see if this hasn't messed up the front now. That tends to just smooth a little bit out, but you can see it's still a little bit jaggy. To get rid of these little jaggies, you can increase the resolution. This little button here increases the voxel resolution, so if you click it a few times you can see it's moving out a bit. But quick tip, because sometimes you want a lot of resolution, instead of clicking on this button over and over, you can just hold it down and it does multiple ones at the same time, so it's a lot smoother. But on the reference it's a bit hard to see, but this looks rounded. Now with the chamfer we've got, if we increase the rounding, it's probably not going to look very nice. So we're probably going to have to make a copy of this. Quick way of making a copy. First of all, I would turn this little thing on, just for future. It helps a lot with keeping things organised when they're grouped together. Just leave that on most of the time. Then if you hold Shift and drag the transform, that'll just make a copy of it. So now, not blend, round, we can make this round, and it's basically just adding onto the end of this, makes it round. You can see a little seam here. I think that's because it's a bit short, so make it longer. So actually, if we make it longer in this direction, and now you can still see the seam, so it wasn't that. Let's go to render mode, see if you can see it. Let's turn shininess up. You can see the seam. I mean, that doesn't really bother me. From this far away, you can't really see it, so I'm just gonna leave it. But if that bothers you, you can try various things. Perhaps no. If you make it bigger, see what you're just gonna get is another seam here. So just mess about until you like it, but I think it's fine in this case. So it's a bit long. Oops. That looks about right. Again, we're not going to be perfect. So we've now got a seam on the front. I don't know how that happened. Let's scooch it forward a tiny little bit. Again, you can click and drag these. So this might be because I added that tiny bit of blend. Yeah, in fact this might be this as well. Yeah, so the tiny little bit of blend I added was making that seam, but now these edges aren't blended as nicely as I'd like. So to get over that, actually this might not work either, but if you group these two together, now we can stop the blend from happening between these two, but then add a blend. I'm just going to make it big, for example, but now we can add a big blend, and it'll take both these things added together and then blend on top of that. But obviously we would get this on the front, so let's not do that. In fact, I'm just going to leave them ungrouped. This is still quite smooth, so I think it's fine in this case. Yeah, let's carry on. Subtract. Just thinking which is the best way of doing this. Yeah. We'll just do it one after the other, so... Sorry if I'm quiet in this part, but... it's... not much to say. Obviously, these are all just built-in things. So there will be a tiny little gap around there. You can either just leave it, or try and size it so there's a tiny little gap, but you will end up with like not super great little jaggies and stuff, because they're very close. We can try this. Sometimes that helps, but no, not. And then inflate. Actually, no. It's because it's very close. When things are very close like that, they tend to want to stick together, and then you get these horrible little jaggy bridgy things. So you could make it a lot smaller, and then it's quite a big gap if we add more around to it. Make it nice. Also, in this subtracting one, if you turn the blend up, that will do this edge to be less sharp. I think that's alright actually in this case, but sometimes you might want to even like make a whole new scene shape. Let's just rename this just for little like inset bits or stuff like that, and then they won't try and merge together then if they're separate bits here. So yeah, anyway, let's carry on. Copy and paste, make it smaller, get rid of the hole. Try and make it bigger. Now in this case it might be alright to just merge them together. Because it's domed, there's already kind of an edge, if that makes sense. So while we're here, let's get the colour about right. If you make things metallic, it tends to darken the colour a bit. So even though this colour is lighter than this colour, it will darken up a bit in render mode. Spin the skybox around. close enough. Yeah, so we're getting there. Let's quickly do this line. I will just drag a box out. X, Y, Z, center everything. So to make a line like this, panel line, this little button is very helpful to make panel lines. If you click it and it's on add, it'll add mode up here. It will like punch out a little, like not punch out, stick out a little tabby thing, which is sometimes good. But if you switch it to subtract mode, then it will punch out a little hole. And to change the depth, it's this inflate section here. Now, again, it's quite jaggy. If you zoom in from this far, it's fine. But if you don't like that, then just add a very tiny amount of blend, 0.5 higher. Ooh. 1, maybe 2. There we go. And then, yeah. And you can get it quite thin. So this is a good panel line now. You can just put it into an easier way to like position things in this case is the wireframe button down here. This little cube. Click that and you can basically see where the cube actually is that you're trying to position. So then you've got your panel line. Okay. So what shall we do next? Let's do this little thing. I'm not sure whether to group things. No, let's just carry on. Okay, click and drag cylinder out. You can turn the bounding box off now. Let's subtract. Bit smaller. Up a bit. That's roughly right. Copy and paste it. Add. Make it round. And drop it in. Again, these jaggies, just turn the bevel up a little bit. It's a bit squarer actually, so turn the rounding down, move it more inside, might make it a bit smaller. It's actually quite a bit squarer than I was thinking originally. There we go. Again, by the way, if you click on somewhere that's been subtracted, it normally does grab the actual subtracted piece, which is very helpful. Again, bevel it to add blend it will add softness to the edges. Yeah, that's close enough for me. You can just copy and paste both and move them, and then so if you've got two things selected and you try to do the alt trick where it only moves in two directions, it won't work unless you click this little thing here. Let me see, what's that called? Transform at stroke level. So if you click that, then hold Alt and scale, it will scale both in only one direction. Let's get this. No, I would turn this off as soon as you remember, because sometimes you'll get very confused why things aren't scaling how you want them to, and it's because you forgot to turn this off. So yeah, try and remember. So this curve is quite a bit different from this curve, but for now I'm just going to leave it because it's close enough. But again, you can take your time and get things out exactly you want them. I think this should go back a tiny little bit. Yeah, so now we've got this weird little cutout thing. So if you imagine this as being a triangle, then that will cut out roughly the right thing. Now I've just realised this is going to need to be pushed in a bit. Yeah, so if we think that might be a triangle shape, let's try it. Drag a triangle in. And hopefully you can see what I mean. If this was a lot flatter than the angles. Yeah, so let's flatten it. Yeah, that looks about right. So again, it's yeah. In this case, I would use the groove blend option, and you can see it's affecting this inside bit. So you just move it up, and then it won't affect this anymore. We want it to go in, subtract, and we want it to be a lot thinner than that. So that's roughly right. Angle wise, let's try and it's a bit, the angle seems quite good, but it's it would also affect this side, so let's pull it out. Also blend it, it's quite rounded, so blend it. That's a bit too much, I think. That's quite good. Seems alright to me for now. Again, tweak it as much as you want. I'm going to turn the exposure up a bit so it's easier to see. Should be deeper. The problem is you might start getting some errors on this side, but it doesn't look too bad. I think that's better. Yeah, so we're basically nearly done. This is probably easiest to just do with a sphere. Put it roughly right place. It. That's good enough. Oh yeah, we forgot to cut this back slope off. I'm just gonna click it. So yeah, you can see where it is in the list. It's right at the top. Now you can group these and organize them and name them however you want, but just to try and keep it simple, I've not been doing that, so yeah. Let's subtract this longer, make it bigger, and then rotate it. Whoops. That's roughly right. Now these little things here, it's a bit hard to tell what they are, but we'll try. Now, the easiest way that I can think to do that is to group a few objects together and then subtract the whole object out of the side of this thing. So, let's do it. I'll do it at the bottom. Oops, add a box. We'll just do the outside for now. Get roughly the right size. I think this is a bit big at the moment, but it'll do for now. Then what you can do is just group one thing by itself and then subtract the group. Let's turn wireframe on so we can see. Then if you copy something else into that group, make it smaller, then that whole group again gets cut out, and you can blend the whole thing. Blend the inside. So, to me, it kind of looks like these are little diagonal chunks. So, I think a triangle would be the easiest shape for that. Now, if you've got a shape selected and then you click on a different shape, it will change it to that shape. Obviously this is in the wrong direction. So we want it to be rotated firstly around X. So let's just do that. Let's see, is it the right? Right. Then around Y. Then change the top width, and we've got these diagonal little cuts. Yeah, it's a bit wide. Let's try something. if we take the outside cube and scale it, it's the X scale of 22.4. Oops. Then if we take the triangle on the inside, the Z scale is this direction, because they're moving in different directions. They're rotated into different directions, which is a bit confusing sometimes. So if we paste the same width into that, then they will both be exactly the same width. So yeah, now we've got this little chunk that we've taken out. We can just copy and paste the little chunk and move it around. It's roughly right. Again, spend as much time as you want getting them perfect. So yeah, we've made Metal Gear Mark II his little head. And obviously it could be better. I think it's too tall. These are too big. But spend all the time in the world to get it perfect. Yeah, so there we have it. Thanks for watching, and I might do a few more of these. Bye.